Hi, everyone. Hope everybody's doing well. I want to give you an update on this Crew-7 coming home tomorrow morning. Can you imagine being out in space for 6 months, Josh?
That would be
And
insane.
and that's a long time to be doing experiments and all those things. But tonight is the night that they come back, and so we are going to talk about the severe weather potential as well for Thursday. But this is what's happening initially tomorrow morning. We've got a re-entry of a space capsule. This is known as Dragon. It's SpaceX Dragon Endurance, and it's carrying Crew-7, four astronauts that are going to be making a splashdown in the northern Gulf a little after 4:40 in the morning. Now, these times are approximate, but I wanted to let you know because it's kind of cool that this flies almost directly overhead the river valley, meaning if you're looking up, straight up, at between 4:38 and 4:39, those times are approximate. It could change, it could vary. So around that time, you want to be looking up. Let me give you the details on this as we zoom in. So these colors represent basically the viewing angle. If you're in the yellow shaded area, you're going to be looking between 45 to 90 degrees above the horizon. Obviously, the center of that yellow area is 90 degrees, almost straight up. And you'll notice that path as it starts in southwestern Nebraska and then drops southeast through Kansas. And notice how fast it moves too, 437 to 438. This is going to be moving faster than the speed of sound. However, we're trying to figure out if there is, in fact, going to be a sonic boom with this. And I personally think it's going to be too high up in the atmosphere in order to hear that. Now, sometimes you can have fireball bolides that will release, explosion sounds. And I don't know, honestly,
Yeah.
if that's going to happen.
Can't say for certain, but I feel like if it's gonna be a sonic boom, it would probably be extreme southeast Arkansas,
Yeah,
closer to where it's
it's
approaching the landing.
lower in the at the altitude above the ground,
Yeah,
right? Yeah, because it's coming in on an angle. When it enters the Earth's atmosphere, it's going to look almost like a shooting star. That will be a slower moving shooting star, but it will have that little fire trail essentially where the it's re-entering the Earth's atmosphere. So they are going to do a live broadcast too. NASA will, but there's a look at the path, and then you see if we zoom in. I mean, this is almost directly overhead the river valley. So Northwest Arkansas and the river valley going to be able to see this if the high clouds don't prevent viewing. And I'll tell you, there might be an issue with that. There's definitely a lot of smoke, and we'll get to that here in just a bit. But there's the southeastern path. You notice the dots are less separated as you get closer to the Gulf. That's because it's slowing down as it gets closer to reentry. And these times are approximate, but just letting you know that you have that potential for splashdown as early as 4:35. And so I don't think that's going to be a little bit later than that, but we'll see. That's something interesting to watch. And so there's the path of that, and that's kind of cool to see if you have the opportunity. Now I want to show you the smoke that came into the Mount Magazine area. And we were looking at the weather bug cameras, and it's like, are you crazy? Look at this smoke, though. I'm gonna stop it right here. Look at that. That's the sun off the distance. You were saying this looks like a Star Wars planet.
yeah. You got that red sky in the mountains
Yeah.
and the dust.
All we need is two stars. But look at that. It totally shrouded. I mean, the clouds with the smoke plume is basically the sun's not even below the horizon at this point, and yet it just disappears.
Mhm.
So that's a pretty bad smoke plume. That visibility is way down. Now, if we look at what's causing that, you can see on the visible satellite, you can smell it, says Kenzie. So Kenzie's saying that there's definitely in Logan County, especially, and got some visitors too in the weather lab, and they were saying they smelled a little bit of those prescribed burns and those smoke plumes that are moving in. So those southerly winds are going to take them in. But there's a look at the smoke plume. It was a 1,500-acre aerial ignition prescribed burn by the Arkansas Forestry Commission, and you can see that smoke plume extending right into Mount Magazine, basically. So pretty crazy. All right, let's talk about the severe weather risk that's happening. So, what's your thoughts on this for Thursday, Josh?
This one's a tough one because, as many of you know, we get these extended outlooks and then the forecast rapidly changes as we get closer. This one, though, it has the potential that it could be a little bit better, especially for the River Valley. It's
Yeah.
questionable for Northwest Arkansas, but if you're in the River Valley, definitely stay tuned for the updates just because this is probably going to change over the next couple of days, but we have that extended outlook. It is for portions of the River Valley. It's too early. Saw some people mentioning what they thought about the risk for the area. It's too early to get into those exact details. We'll get the day 3 overnight tonight into tomorrow, but
That's going to be Jacob for
yeah.
sure.
So
Jacob, I'm sure, immediately asked about the severe weather risk. And so the tornado tie, it's too premature to talk about that too. But definitely a lightning bolt is going to be in the offing on Thursday. But this might not be an overnight Thursday deal. I think this is Thursday afternoon into the early evening. So it's a daytime event. Now, before we get to those storms on Thursday, we do have rain and storm chances possible for Tuesday night and Wednesday morning. This is a little more questionable because a lot of models aren't producing any precipitation at all, but there is a boundary that's going to be coming in. It's going to be a dry line, and that's going to bring the chance of some thunderstorms. So this is the day 2 convective outlook, and then we'll go progressively as we get into our Thursday. But before we get to Thursday, there's the storm chances for basically tomorrow night and into early Wednesday morning. You'll notice the marginal threat to the northwest. That makes sense because that's where the dry line is going to be positioned. So the dry line will make its way east. It's a boundary between warm, humid air ahead of it, which causes a lot of lift, and then hot, dry air to the west of it. And that dry line where it sets up will be key for the next round of thunderstorms, which will be on Wednesday night and into early Thursday. Also, the possibility of some storms in the early morning hours on Wednesday. But I will say this, that the instability is going to be there. So let's talk about Thursday's threat. So this is Thursday's threat. This is what the front's going to look like as the cold front catches up with the dry line. You've been looking at Dallas a lot, and Dallas has a little bit better shear and a little bit stronger jet stream energy. But this is the day 4 convective outlook. So this means that what we mean by that is today's day 1, tomorrow's day 2, Wednesday's day 3, Thursday to Friday morning is day 4. So this isn't even in the realm of showing probabilities yet and stuff like that. However, with the Storm Prediction Center issuing a day 4, it tells you that most likely it's a slight risk of severe weather. Now, if we zoom out on the wider view, you're going to see clearly we've got the abundant moisture, we got the jet stream energy, and I'll show you exactly what I mean with those dew points surging north. The threats are going to be large hail and damaging winds. Tornado threat, I don't see the shear as of this point that's favorable for tornadoes, at least in the River Valley. Maybe River Valley might have a little bit better of a chance. Northwest Arkansas, not as much at this point. Yeah. But it's still early. A lot can change. Yeah. And there's a lot of uncertainty with that. But let's go to the this is the future track model. See the storm chances tomorrow night. It does develop a little bit of isolated storm development. Would not be surprised for that to happen. And then as we go into our Wednesday night into Thursday morning, that's when those storms really start to pop up. So you can see the low pressure system to the north. It's basically exactly what we talked about. You've got the cold front that's dropping southeast. So basically looking like this, which makes sense. The boundary between warm air, dry air. And then you see the dry line that's to the west of that, west of Dallas. So that's almost what your surface map is looking like Thursday. And you'll see that there are quite a bit of thunderstorms that are popping up. Now, one of the things that we've been lacking almost every time with severe weather potential is the instability. This time, I think instability is not going to be a concern.
We're getting an early taste of spring with this.
This is going to be early taste of spring. Now, check these colors out, and you can see that we're starting to get into yellow and orange shades, and that's for Thursday around midday. So there's a potential that instability makes it farther north into northwest Arkansas, but this is going to be focused in the River Valley most likely, and that's where the storms could be the strongest. Now, the GFS, let's look at that, and we'll see if there's anything else. Do you have anything to record, Josh, or no? Are you all good?
No, I'm golden.
Okay.
Just making sure the desk is set up.
Okay, cool deal.
Yeah, we're golden.
Awesome. So here's Wednesday. Let's look at so there's early Thursday, or excuse me, Tuesday night into early Wednesday morning. It's got those isolated storms. It's wild that the global models have it and the high resolution the shorter range models don't. So
but those high resolution models haven't been all too that great recently.
no, they have not.
Terrible.
They've been awful for sure. So there's a look at the storm chances for Wednesday afternoon. Not out of the question to see storms. Look at that low pressure system developing. And so once again, here's those storms popping up and focused in the river valley, but also potential in northwest Arkansas as well. So I think personally, and Josh has been mentioning this too, but I really do think that with a slide on a day 4, essentially, then we'll probably have an enhanced risk somewhere in the river valley. And the slight will probably make it into northwest Arkansas. Yeah. And then we have southwest Missouri that will be under the marginal threat. That's what it looks like to me as of now. Now, we're going to look at the HRRR too as well, but the HRRR doesn't go out far enough. So this is the energy helicity index. So this is basically the shear and the cape. The cape is convective available potential energy. And we're looking at 0 to, I think this is the 0 to 3 kilometer storm relative velocity, and along with the shear. Now, you're going to see that the shear is better Thursday morning when the low level jet kicks in, and then it kind of dies down Thursday afternoon. This is what we mean by maybe a little out of phase with the energy. So the low level shear cranks up big time Thursday morning, but that's the low level jet. Then Thursday afternoon, it kind of weakens a little bit. That means that the wind shear might not be as favorable for tornado potential. But nevertheless, these are still possibly some large hail producers. Yeah. And we're talking, you were looking at some analogs. 2001, wasn't it?
Yeah, so it was
May of 2001, wasn't it?
I have a picture of it.
Yeah.
I believe it was like May 20th of 2001. Let's see. Yep, May 20th of 2001. Which, for those who don't remember, was a pretty substantial system with a lot of large damaging hail. And I believe there was a 4.5-inch hailstone in Fort Smith on that day. Not saying that that's going to happen.
Yeah.
But the analogs are comparing it to a similar split flow system that moved in.
The analogs are going crazy with hail.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That is an understatement.
And they are. And so the hail does look impressive, at least the parameters for hail. Now, remember, hail is essentially giant balls of ice that are suspended in those updrafts, and the wind shear allows them to maintain in the updraft, downdraft interaction, which makes those hailstones get bigger. But large hail doesn't necessarily represent tornado potential. It can, but in this case, I think that severe weather is a good possibility Thursday. We don't know all the details yet. All the high resolution models aren't out yet. But if we look at the HRRR, let's see if the latest has, you know what? Everything's delayed now. Daylight saving time. It's all an hour later now for all the models. The 0Z runs is 7 o'clock. But here's a look, it doesn't have anything. It has no storms tomorrow night. And I don't necessarily believe that. I think there might be a little bit of isolated development. That just doesn't show anything.
Yeah, and
it just seems weird.
I don't fully buy that because it did not do well with precipitation in North Texas and Southeast Oklahoma today. It showed nothing, and then there was a couple of more heavy rain and thunderstorms down there earlier today.
And it didn't do well for Friday either.
No, it didn't.
Friday was terrible. And then all that rain that happened, and then it had the storms, and the Friday system was weird. So
they're taking notes from the Texas Tech model.
Yeah, exactly. Now the 3-kilometer dam does show a little bit of isolated activity trying to pop up. It could be capped, but I think there's going to be a little bit of isolated storm development. But we're not sold on it, so that's why we only went 20% at this point. So high resolution models don't have it. One last one to look at is the graph. This is the 4-kilometer graph. So I think this does have some development right there, just a little bit of pop-up development that makes sense with a boundary coming in, a little bit of instability that returns, and then it's gone, and then the moisture really starts to crank up, and then you see right here nothing really developing. And so, okay, so there it has Thursday, some thunderstorms popping up. So this is the first sign of the model showing a little bit of storm activity Thursday afternoon. Now we're still 2 days out. Essentially 3 days out, really, from today to tomorrow, tomorrow to Wednesday, Wednesday to Thursday. That's essentially 3 days out. So there's a lot of uncertainty with that.
Yeah, and another uncertainty is, will that capping inversion last, or how long it will last Thursday?
Yeah.
We're looking at some of the sounding data. There's going to be a little bit of an inversion it's going to be stronger in the morning, but the question is how quickly is that going to erode away in the River Valley and Northwest Arkansas during the afternoon?
Yeah. So this was someone that was asking, capping is a huge concern, especially for Tuesday and Wednesday. No doubt. And the you're not looking at a whole lot of energy that's swinging in, so that might prevent thunderstorms from forming. How does traveling to Dallas on Friday look? So that looks much better than Thursday. Friday is going to be a much better day to travel than Thursday, and I'll show you. That storm system moves east, and after it's over and gone, you're all good, Vance. So no problems for Thursday. For Friday. So there's a look at Friday. You can see the storm activity, maybe a little bit of light rain, but that's not storm activity. That's just a little wave of energy that swings in. So a little bit of light rain possible for Friday. But the thunderstorms, as you could clearly see, are definitely on Thursday afternoon.
Yeah.
And remember, this model, it's not high resolution, so you don't see all the details on it. So I do want to show you this, the moisture return. This is really pretty evident right here. Right now, obviously, we don't have any moisture. There's no instability. But watch those green areas start surging northward. And already by tomorrow afternoon, those dew points start climbing into the lower and middle 50s. So that leads to thunderstorm potential, not necessarily severe weather until we get the darker greens, and that starts surging northward on Wednesday. Still doesn't have time to make it into Northwest Arkansas, but then as we go into Thursday, now you see those dew points surging north, and that's making it into the River Valley. And so that's why the severe weather potential is greater in the River Valley. The darker greens, that's more fuel for thunderstorms. All that just basically means that storm activity will be more likely. And then here, finally, once again, dew points surging northward on the European model. And you'll see those darker greens making it into the River Valley, even into parts of Northwest Arkansas. And then storms start popping up. So cloud cover, rain chances, all that will dictate how much storm activity we do see. If the capping inversion holds off, then, we'll see what happens. How about that? $532 million for Powerball. You got to get your Powerball tickets in Arkansas, River Valley, and Texoma region.
If I win, I'm sharing it with you too.
All right, man.
I didn't say how much.
Yeah. Hey, $5, we'll take it.
Yes.
That'll buy a coffee. Probably not even that these days. Yeah. It's not even that enough. So there's a look at Thursday. There's the moisture and the instability surging back. And so you can see those. Look at 67 dew point. That's up there. What's interesting is this pattern reminds me a lot of 2006, which, by the way, we're approaching the anniversary of the March 12th, 2006 tornado that happened. So 18 years ago, tomorrow, that was a tornado that went through Centerton and Bentonville. And you remember your front yard?
Yes.
Oh, wow. We got to get
Saw a chicken house.
we got to get our people on here. So we got some people in the back there that are watching. So your front yard in Centerton?
No,
In Bentonville.
Yes.
Okay. So I'm going to guess you were by NWAC then, huh?
Yes.
So you were at College Park? Is that where you were at?
College
That
Place.
College Place,
So,
I mean, yeah.
Yeah. And the home just south of us, we had no idea.
Yeah.
It had a hole through the roof. And then we were just like in a protected bubble. Our house was.
Man.
We're like, the Lord protected us.
Yes.
Because everywhere else it was just a disaster.
It was just a disaster. And then it was
Yes.
like right in that one neighborhood just north of NWAC. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll show you the radar. We'll look at the radar here a little bit after. But yeah. So yesterday I was at a concert with the Ozark Mountain British Brass Band. And Josh Marshall, who is our director, was a part of that. He plays percussion. And I got to meet these fine folks. And Nicholas, who loves weather, he's really interested in weather. That's why he wanted to come in and kind of job shadow and get to see the 9 o'clock newscast. And we're going to launch this Facebook Live. So last thing I want to talk about again is to recap this, in case you're watching after we've launched before. Speaking of launch, we got a re-entry that's going to be happening tonight. And so this is a look at, should I say, early morning tomorrow. Are you getting up for this, Josh?
I got early classes. I ain't getting up for it.
My wife said, no way, Jose, don't wake me up. So I might have to check this out, though. It's like a little bit after 4:30 in the morning. I will say one thing, cloud cover could disappoint. If we look at the latest cloud cover forecast, you're going to see a lot of high clouds streaming in from the west. And so those are essentially maybe going to thicken up. But there's a look at the high clouds that are streaming in. And so maybe they'll dissipate and clear out. But the HRRR model did have quite a bit of cloud cover rolling in right around 4 a.m. So maybe there'll be a break. There could be a little break over us. We'll see. But it'll be cutting it close for sure. So, all right, guys. Well, that does it. We'll give you more updates on that severe weather risk for tomorrow. For Thursday tomorrow. That'll be a part of the day 3. I do think hail is going to be a concern. So, and we're talking some pretty sizable hail. That's going to be the main threat.
Definitely.
So we'll continue to watch it, keep you updated. Until then, God bless. Have a great rest of your Monday, and we'll see you later.